Let's get it.
How's it going, guys? Alex here from Runner Poker, and you're watching episode 26 of my poker vlog. Today we're back to playing 2-5 No Limit Texas Hold'em at the Daytona Beach Racing and Card Club. I'll be providing commentary across the hands while exploring Smyrna Dunes Park in New Smyrna Beach, Florida. Real quick before we get started, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any new vlogs. Also, if you want to see me play your favorite hand, like this video and comment your hand below. Without further ado, let's get right into the action. First hand to go here, we've got Quackers in the cutoff. We make it 20 to go. Big blind's the only caller, so we're going heads up to a flop in position 40 into a board that comes ace 8-3. We're going to play this hand range on range, image on image, mono mono. Big blind checks, and I decide to continue the story for 30. In the future, I think it's probably better to be betting smaller here since it's a pretty dry board, and we're going to have to protect our value hands. That said, the big blind does make the call, which narrows them down to being a bit stronger than weaker. The turn brings a very interesting card. It's the King of Clubs. I'm not really sure what to do on this card because it does block a combo of Ace-King from my opponent's range, as this older gentleman could have called pre-flop with that. But I think it also blocks Ace-King from my range, so hands like Ace-10, Ace-Jack, and Ace-Queen could feel more incentivized to call down. Nevertheless, I decide to use it as a card to fire on, so I bet 65. Probably in the future, a bet of 80 here is going to be a little bit better, but after a bit of tanking, gets the job done anyway, and our opponent folds. Stepping down numerically in pocket pairs, this time we've got pocket aces. Under the gun, we make it 25 to go. The button and the big blind are the only callers, so with 75 in, 3 ways to a flop we go. It comes 9-6-5. Not really a great board for aces here, considering that our opponent's ranges are going to favor this board a lot more than ours. Big blind checks, and I think you could go either way, betting or checking here. I decided to pump the variance, and I bet 50. Button folds, which is good. That's the one we wanted. The big blind decides to stick around. Heads up in position now to a turn that comes the King of Hearts. I don't think that the big blind's going to really be continuing here with a lot of draws that aren't heart draws, so I decided to bet 50 in this spot to really milk any draws that I can get value from. Big blind does call, which is good. Final card incoming, and it comes a 4. Really safe card, big blind checks, and I don't really think we're going to get much better to call, but I bet $100 anyway, trying to get a little cheeky for this reason. I know they're not going to call. They do eventually fold, but we show off one ace, maybe thinking we can get someone to believe we barreled 3 streets with just an ace, hopefully so we can get paid off later.
4 is good.
Might be, but
3 streets with ace high.
Speaking of which, who's ready to get paid? We've got deuce 3 of diamonds in the big blind, facing a button straddle, and the small blind has completed. Sometimes you just feel like you got to get in there. I limp behind, and good news for us, it folds back to the button checks their options. So, 3 ways to a flop with 30 in, and it's about to be more as that flop comes 3-3-6. We flop trips. Small blind checks, and I take the aggression for this pot and bet 20. And then something kind of unnerving happens. The button raises to 45. Small blind gets out of the way, and I really don't know what to make of this raise. They can have literally any 2 cards, and a raise here on this drive of board is pretty strong. I've got the worst 3 you could possibly have, but I do still have trips. Never folding. I don't think it's necessarily wrong to just get all the money in here. Uh-oh. We gotta get to this. We gotta go. It's behind us. You can see it behind us. I think you could go either way here. I think you could just call. I think you could raise to get it in. I decide in this spot, play a little more conservatively, and just call. Heads up to a turn, comes a 9. Doesn't really change the board at all. We check to the aggressor, and they bet 80. Definitely not folding here. Probably could raise, but I decide to play some more small ball and just call. Heads up to a final card. That card comes a king. We check, and they finally give up their aggression and check. We show our hand. It's good, and we take down the pot. Definitely think we could have won a little bit more here, but I don't really mind playing some small ball. Let me know what you guys think. For this next hand, we've got the worst hand in the game. That's right, pocket queens in the small blind facing a button straddle. We bump the action up to 35. Hijack and the button call, so we're going to go 3 ways out of position with 105 in the middle to a decent board of Jack 6-5. We continue our story that we actually have a good hand with a bet of 60. Interestingly, the hijack raises to 150. Button folds, and again, with getting raised on dry boards. I don't really know what this is supposed to mean. Definitely not going to fold my overpair here. I make the call with plans on reevaluating on the turn. The turn reevaluation gets a little more complicated when it comes a king. I check, and our opponent bets again for 150. Here's the thing. This really doesn't make a lot of sense. I think the king is going to be a lot better for me, and betting here in his shoes doesn't really accomplish much. I mean, his semi-bluffs can just check here to take a free card. His 5s and 6s, yeah, those are going to bet because the king favors me. But he should never have a lone king here because he raised me on the flop. So the line doesn't make a lot of sense. I think this should probably be a call, but I decide to look deep into his soul one last time, and I somehow find a fold. Our opponent then has the sheer audacity to tell and show kings in the hole for calling our raise pre-flop and then overplaying the trappy line. I mean, talk about soul read. That's the best one I'm going to have for a while. If you couldn't tell from the previous hand, we're playing a little short-handed, which isn't bad by any means, but I'm starting to loosen up and feel it a little bit. I make a raise to 20 with ace-7 of diamonds in the hijack. The cutoff and the big blind make the call, so we're going to go 3 ways, 60 in to a board of 3-4-7. Not every day you flop top with ace-7, and when you do, got to make the most of it. Checks to us, and we bet 40. Cutoff gets out of the way, and the big blind calls. Heads up in position to a turn, and the dealer drops a 4. All the draws are really going to hate this card, so if we want draws to stick around, we got to bet a little bit smaller. I decide to bet 60. Big blind calls, which is nice. Heads up to a final card, and that card comes another 3. I don't know about you guys, but I really hate going for thin value on double paired boards. When the big blind checks for the last time, I decide to take our raw showdown value and check back, and our assessment of the situation was correct. We couldn't get any more value, but we're going back to winning decent pots. This time we've got an actual real premium hand. We've got ace king of hearts in the hijack, but first to go, we raise the action up to $20. I don't really know what's going on in this hand. I guess there was a dead button, but all the players that were at the table made the call. So we're going 4 ways, 80 in to a flop. There comes 8-8-4. We attempt to bet 60, but then the cutoff bets 25 out of turn. This isn't going to stand with us. We literally had 60 in our hand, and we drop it into the middle. The cutoff then tries to save themselves by saying that they thought that we folded, which doesn't make sense considering we were literally the pre-flop raiser. Sorry, not going to work. The cutoff then proceeds to fold, the small blind calls, and the big blind folds. Heads up in position to a turn, and we find a beautiful, magical ace of diamonds. Now, in this spot, we are now way ahead of any pocket pairs that could have floated, and we're going to still pump for value. We bet 100. We could still be getting trapped by an 8 here, but I think there are going to be more 8s in the cutoffs and the big blinds rage, and because we didn't get raised on the flop, I'm kind of just disregarding that. Good signs all around when the small blind just calls our 100. Heads up to a final card, and the dealer drops a 10. Yeah, I guess we're exactly losing to pocket 10s now, but that's not going to be enough for us not to be able to bet this river for value. We go for some really thin value and bet another 100. You love when plans work out exactly as planned, as the small blind doesn't think too long before calling and showing us pocket jacks. That's the way to win maximum, and let's go! Big blind special time. We've got Jack 3 offsuit facing a button limp. Small blind completes, and I just check the option. 3 ways to a flop. There comes Ace Jack 9. Blinds check to the button, who bets 10. Small blind folds, and I'm going to float one time here. I make the call. This is why you float sometimes, as we drill the big blind special and make 2 pair. We check to the aggressor, who bets 10. I want to see if they'll play for all of it, and I put them all in. Doesn't take them too long before they call. Board runs out clean. We're shown ace-king. That's going to be no good, sir. Formal advice to anybody coming up in the game, don't limp ace-king pre-flop. It'll save yourself some money. The previous hand was actually the last hand that we played on the must-win before going over to the main game. We didn't really stay on the main game for too long, left not too long after, but when we were on the main game, it was a crazy table, huge stacks, chips flying everywhere, and the first hand that we saw when we sat down was one of the best hands in the game, pocket jiggities. That's right. The button straddled, both the blinds have limped, and we pumped the action up to $80. The cutoff calls, and then the rest of the players fold. So we're going heads up out of position with $190 in the middle to a flop that comes ace 7 deuce rainbow. I mean, what more can you say? This is absolutely beautiful for our range. Maybe not so good for our hand, but it is the quintessential dry ace high flop. I want to pick a size here that balances out our hand for when we have bigger aces that we can actually truly be value betting. So I bet 60. It doesn't take too long before our opponent makes the call. Then the hand takes a very interesting twist when the turn is another ace. This is actually just one of the most beautiful cards because it definitely helps my range a lot and helps my exact hand. This makes it less likely that both of us have an ace, which means that we both just have pocket pairs. Mine should be always higher since we were just called pre-flop. I think about it for a little bit and I decide that this bet is definitely on the side of value, so I pick a size of about half pot 150. After about a minute, our opponent hums and haws for a little bit and then ends up folding what we can only imagine was a smaller pocket pair. For our last notable hand, we've got King 10 of clubs in the low jack facing 3 limpers and a straddled pot. Now, I want to play this hand for you guys, but I'm not going to get super fancy and raise over 3 limpers in this big of a pot, so I limp behind and the button checks their option. Don't worry, it gets better. 5 ways, 50 in, to a flop that comes ace 8-8. The player to our right tries to throw a bet out there, but there's a little bit of confusion on what the price actually is. Ultimately, it's determined that the bet will be 25, and that's great price for us to call with the nut flush draw. We make the call, and the rest of the players fold. Heads up now in position to a turn that does improve us, but not to the flush. It's a king. We've got 2 pair. The player to our right now bets what they meant to bet on the flop, bets 30. Great price for us to defend. We call. Final card incoming, and it just keeps getting better as the dealer drops the deuce of clubs. Better yet, the player to our right bets again for 45. We pretty quickly raise to 150, and we get snap called. We both show our hands at the same time, and he shows 5-7 of clubs. That's right, he was semi-bluffing clubs, got there, but we had the nut flush. He just got his hand caught in the cookie jar. How's it going, guys? Runner Poker here. We're out in Smyrna Dunes Park taking a walk around the boardwalk, but our walk might get cut short because of that. That definitely does not look too friendly. So I was recording a hand and I could see the rain behind me in the video and it was approaching us as we were walking on the boardwalk. And so we ran to try to get behind one of these shelters that they've got placed around the boardwalk, and we took cover for a little bit before continuing. But that is definitely going to damper our plans. So yeah, we just hid under that hold on, we hi. Yeah, we had to just hide under that real quick, under the little pavilion, little hut, because it started raining, and it's probably gonna rain more. As always, guys, here are the session results. Into the game this time for $700, out of the game for 13, booking a win of $600 over the course of about 4 hours. Thanks for taking a walk with me today, guys, at Smyrna Dunes Park. Really appreciate all of the support we've been getting lately. Remember, keep your body healthy, keep your mind healthy. This is Runner Poker. Have a good one.
Okay, 25. I'm gonna go easy on this one. How's that?